Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's Workshop. Now, in a previous video, I made some shopping bags with burlap, and today I got in the mood that I wanted to make some baskets from burlap. Now, I'm using some remnant pieces of jumbo craft sticks. You can use whatever type of sticks you like, and I'm cutting them into the size and the shape that I want them to be for the baskets. I want these to be more like little baskets maybe the dolls would take to go out to their garden to pick a few things to cook for dinner, so they don't need to be very big. Now you can see here in this next frame that I glued a strip of the burlap around the edge of the craft stick and allowed it to dry. Now that it's dry, I cut another strip to add as the handle. Now you definitely don't have to, but I did brush watered down glue all over my burlap to make it a little bit more firm. And you can clearly see that I got carried away because I made several of the same little baskets. Now I want you to watch here how I'm just adding a little bit of glue on the inside. That's so that I can connect the handle on the inside so you won't see where it's connected. Now after I put the handle on the inside, I did kind of press it a little bit to make sure it made full contact with the glue I just applied. Now again, you can use Tacky Glue or Gorilla Wood Glue, but I used Weld Bond and it worked out really good. Now some of the sides of some baskets I made a little higher and others I made a little lower, depending on what I want to use the baskets for. So it's totally your preference. So here's a quick close-up of how they're beginning to look. Now I just want to show you really quick that with this project I'm using the wide burlap ribbon with the wire around the edge. But burlap without the wire works just as well. Now if you don't have wired burlap, you will have to hold it or clamp it to dry, and brushing it with watered down glue firms it up. And in this frame you can see I cut off a really thin strip to be one of my handles. And here's another close-up angle of me just making sure that the handle fits nice and neatly into the glue. Now I want to show you really quickly the types of things that you can do with a little basket like this. It was a very simple process to create it, but you can really make it a really interesting piece in almost any scene. So now that it's all dry, I decided I kind of wanted to make it look like, in a sense, a little bread basket. So I had a random piece of gingham in a light blue and white check. So I've added glue kind of around the edges and the sides of the basket on the inside. And I'm just using a little toothpick to kind of spread the glue out evenly because you don't want the glue to be clumpy where it'll bleed through the fabric. And now that it's kind of inside the basket, I'm taking my little piece of gingham and just tucking it randomly inside to make it look as though someone put some cloth on the inside, wrapped some bread, and then the bread is going to be unwrapped to be served or shared. So just watch as I put it all together. So I am adding a little bit of additional glue to the outside of the basket so that it will make the little gingham fabric look as though it's draping or hanging on the outside, because as you know, in miniature, fabric doesn't really drape because it's too little, but it'll give that impression or illusion. If the glue is around the edges, it'll stick to it and make it look like it's hanging out. And relax, it doesn't have to be perfect to be cute. And here, let me give you a quick close-up so you'll see what I mean. So now I've got these lovely little pieces of bread. Now these little pieces of bread are plastic. Someone gave them to me in a gift bundle. And alone, they may seem kind of plain and simple, but arranged really cutely in this basket inside the gingham fabric, they really create a really nice piece. Now these little pieces of bread aren't uniform on the front and the back. Some of them, the backs or the bottom of them look very plasticky, so I have to be careful how I arrange them so that you won't be able to see the parts that look shiny plastic to make it only show on the parts that actually look like bread. So with something like this, you want to just take your time to give it a really authentic look of realism based on the way you arrange things on the inside. Because the area is kind of small, you need to be a little strategic. But when it was done, I was really happy. This was really a quick and simple project, but it turned out to be something that was really nice. Now, there's so many other ways you can arrange a basket like this. Sometimes I get so much amusement out of doing really quick, simple projects like this. Sometimes projects like this are really nice to warm yourself up before you have to start a more complex project. And they really yield a lot of miniature fun. Now with this next basket, I decided to make it look a little bit darker. So I added a little bit of my wood stain. Now, if you don't have wood stain or you don't want to use wood stain, you can definitely use watered down acrylic paint. It will definitely do it. Or use acrylic paint in full strength to make your basket a lot darker. But I did use my little stain, and you can see the different or the contrast between the two little baskets. Now, this is using the same technique for the baskets. This time I wanted to add a little fruit. And so I played around with the fruit in its loose form. Now, these are some pieces of fruit that I've made previously. They weren't my best fruit. They were actually like second fruits. But even though they were seconds, they really work well in a project like this because the majority of it will be hidden. You're mostly going to be looking at the colors and the shapes that are shown. Now I'm adding glue to the inside of the basket just like I did when I was adding the bread. But this time I'm going to add a little piece of fabric, and it's actually a scrap from a small curtain. And I really like it because this entire project is made from scraps and remnants, and it really gives a totally different look with the stain on the basket and the darker fabric. And you see here I'm doing the same thing, kind of draping the fabric around the outside with the glue added so that the fabric will appear to be hanging. And you only need a little dab of glue for the fabric to hold. And although I plan to put fruit in this basket, it really looks cute empty. Now here I've got all my little second fruits here to place in the basket. And again, I kind of did a dry run earlier in the video, but you can do a dry run just to kind of give yourself an idea of how you want to place them. Now I'm just adding glue on the inside and just randomly tucking them in. Now, my objective is to see the tops or the best looking part of whatever the fruit is. Because even if some of your polymer clay fruit isn't so great, there's usually parts of it that don't look too bad. So that's the part that you want to show in your arrangement. And in general, when you're trying to make any type of arrangement, you just kind of want to be mindful of the shapes and what colors are near each other. And I generally put the more simple fruits or the most damaged ones at the bottom, and then the ones that are most interesting or brighter colored kind of toward the top. Now, although you don't want your fruit to be swimming in glue, you do want to put an ample amount so that the pieces will be stationary. Generally, this glue dries pretty clear, but you don't want to see clunky glumps of glue all over the sides of your fruit. So be mindful of your placement, and if you get glue on things, wipe it off before it dries so it won't make your centerpiece unsightly. I mean, it's not quite a cornucopia, but I think it looks really cute. A generous gift from someone's garden, I think that'd be nice. Or a basket of bread for your neighbor. Now, dolls, those are my two main baskets, but I did want to show you something else because I saw another piece of fruit and I just want to show you what's possible. Now, I just really want to encourage you, dolls, to play and explore. Now, this one I added lace to the basket and some simple handles with some nail art, and then a bunch of grapes that I made and a couple peaches, throw them in there. That would look really cute as a centerpiece. Now, I did see a couple extra pieces of fruit rolling around on my desk, and I wanted to add them to this bag. And just like that, I added a couple more dabs of glue and tucked on a couple additional pieces of fruit that actually just made the basket look fuller. And because the little pieces of fruit were really small, they were look like some tiny lemons, I didn't have to do a lot to make them fit. I found a little niche between two little pieces of fruit and then tucked the lemon in. And I really think those couple little pieces made the basket look fuller and more vibrant. So I hope you dolls take a moment and try a nice simple project like this. You might really be surprised by what you can come up with because you're only limited by your own imagination. Now, if you've enjoyed this video today and want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe, and always look for me on Mondays and Wednesdays after 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye-bye now, dolls.